The galaxy was endless, dark, and full of dangers that no single species could face alone. Stars burned bright in the blackness, but between them, civilizations rose and fell in silence. Among these civilizations were the Xylarens, a race of beings known for their wisdom and intelligence. Their minds were brilliant, able to create machines that could heal planets, ships that could travel faster than light, and inventions that could feed entire worlds. Yet despite their gifts, the galaxy rejected them. The Xylarens had always wanted peace. They wanted to share knowledge, to teach, to help. But other empires feared them. The galaxy, filled with greed and suspicion, saw their intelligence as a threat. One by one, star systems closed their doors. Alliances dissolved. Trade routes vanished. The Xylarens became wanderers, drifting from system to system, never welcome, never safe. Their ships grew older. Their resources dwindled. Hope faded like the dying light of a distant sun. Their last home, the planet Vera, was once a beautiful world. Lush forests covered the mountains. Rivers sparkled under twin suns, and cities of glass and metal shone like jewels. But now it was a prison. The storms had grown fierce, the air thick with ash from nearby dying stars. Food was scarce. Medicine was scarce. Every day their population shrank a little more. Parents whispered lullabies to children who had never known laughter. Scholars stared at their empty laboratories, unwilling to invent, unwilling to hope. They were a civilization at the edge of extinction. And then, one quiet evening when the Xylarens had begun to accept that their story was ending, a light appeared in the dark sky. A fleet of ships approached, not large, not armed with terrifying weapons, but steady and purposeful. The humans had come. They came from a blue and green planet far from the Xylarens' known maps, a small species that had not yet made itself feared across the stars. Yet they came without fear. The human ships hovered above Vera, shining in the stormy sky. From the lead ship, a voice echoed across the comms. It was calm, warm, and clear. "We are here to help. You are not alone." The Xylarens were silent. Their leader, Elder Rice, could hardly believe it. "Why would you risk yourselves?" he asked, his voice trembling with emotion. "Why would you care for those whom the galaxy has cast aside?" The human captain, a tall figure in a simple uniform, smiled. "Because you deserve it. You are not just exiles. You are a part of this universe, and we believe no one should be abandoned. Come with us. You will have a home." Tears filled Rice's eyes. He looked at his people who were staring at the ships with a mix of fear and hope. Children ran to the windows laughing and pointing at the distant lights. Scientists whispered in disbelief. For the first time in decades, a spark of life returned to Vera. The Xylarens packed what little they could carry. Precious artifacts, scientific records, personal belongings, they left everything else behind. As their ships lifted off from the scarred surface of their planet, the winds of Vera roared in farewell. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a path both full of promise and uncertainty. On the long journey to humanity's homeworld, the humans shared stories of their own history. They spoke of wars and famines, of mistakes and triumphs. The Xylarens listened, fascinated. They had never seen a species survive so many trials and yet remain hopeful. Slowly, the walls around their hearts began to crumble. The fear, the despair, the feeling of being unwanted, all began to fade. Yet as they traveled, the Xylarens could not ignore the truth. The galaxy would not forgive this act of defiance. The civilizations that had cast them out would see humanity's gesture as a threat. Already, sensors picked up shadowy fleets, silent watchers who followed their convoy. Danger was coming, and they could not hide forever. The human captain looked at Elder Rice, understanding the worry in his eyes. "Whatever comes," he said softly, "you will have a home. We will fight for that home. You are not alone anymore." For the first time, the Xylarens dared to dream. Perhaps there was a place where they could live without fear. Perhaps there was a future where their children could laugh and play under the sun again. Perhaps in a galaxy that had abandoned them, there was hope. As the blue and green planet grew larger in their view, shining like a promise in the darkness, the Xylarens felt a warmth they had not felt in decades. They had been cast out, rejected by the galaxy, forgotten by history. But humanity welcomed them. And in that welcome, they found something more precious than all the stars. A chance to live, to hope, and to be part of the universe once more. The galaxy could watch, could judge, could threaten, but for now, the Xylarens knew they were home. The journey to humanity's homeworld was not easy. Even though the human ships were steady and reliable, The Xylarans could feel the tension in the cold vacuum of space. Every day they scanned the darkness around them, wary of fleets that might appear from systems that had once turned them away. The galaxy had been cruel to them for so long, and they knew it could be cruel again. Elder Rice walked along the corridors of the lead ship, watching the young Xylarans who pressed their faces against the observation windows. Stars streaked past in long ribbons, light bending from the faster-than-light engines. The children giggled at the spectacle, yet Rice's heart was heavy. He remembered the families who had already been lost to hunger, sickness, and despair. So many had given up hope. Now, for the first time, there was a chance to rebuild. But he knew the galaxy would not let them live in peace so easily. On the bridge, the human captain monitored the fleet with quiet determination. "We've detected movement," a human officer reported, fingers dancing over the glowing controls. "Ships from the Drakari Syndicate. They're closing in." The Drakari Syndicate was a ruthless coalition of star systems that had long viewed the Xylarans as dangerous and undeserving of life. They had destroyed whole colonies before, leaving nothing but charred worlds and floating wreckage. And now, seeing the Xylarans being carried by humans, an unknown defiant species, they would not tolerate it. The captain nodded, calm but firm. "We expected this. All ships prepare for evasive maneuvers. Civilian transports stay within the protective convoy. We fight only if we must. Their aggression will not break us." Fear rippled through the Xylarans. They had seen war before, and it had left scars on their planet, on their people, and on their souls. Elder Rice approached the captain, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. "Are we truly ready to face them? We have no weapons, no soldiers, only hope." The captain's eyes softened. "Hope is a weapon the galaxy cannot touch. But if it comes to battle, we will protect you. You will not be abandoned again." The Xylarans clung to those words like lifelines. For so long they had been alone, left to die in silence. Now someone was fighting for them, not for politics, not for profit, but because they believed in the right of life itself. The first encounter came near the gas giant Solara 9. The Drakari fleet emerged from the shadows, sleek and menacing, their dark hulls reflecting the starlight. They fired warning beams signaling the humans to turn back, to surrender the Xylarans. But humanity did not flinch. The captain ordered the fleet into defensive formation. Shields hummed, energy surged, and the stars around them seemed to vibrate with tension. The Xylarans watched in awe and fear as humans moved with precision, their small ships dancing around the larger vessels with a grace born of determination and courage. Elder Rice felt something he had not felt in decades: pride. Not in himself, but in the humans. Here were beings who could have ignored them, who could have chosen safety over risk, yet they stood firm. The Xylarans had always been thinkers, planners, and builders, but humanity showed them another kind of strength: courage in the face of impossible odds. The standoff lasted hours. Communications from the Drakari fleet were sharp, full of threats and insults. "You harbor fugitives," their leader growled. "You will face consequences." The captain's voice was calm and unwavering. "They are not fugitives. They are life. And life is not to be destroyed by fear. Turn back or we will not move aside." For a moment the galaxy held its breath. Then surprisingly the Drakari ships retreated, wary of human defiance. The Xylarans could hardly believe it. They had been cast out for so long, their existence denied by every corner of the galaxy, and yet here was proof that courage, not fear, could carve a path through darkness. That night, aboard the human flagship, Elder Rice stood before his people. Children slept, exhausted but safe. Adults whispered quietly, some unable to hide tears. "We are not alone," he said softly, voice carrying through the chambers. "For decades, the galaxy has turned its back on us. For decades, we have known only fear and exile. But now we have hope. Humanity has shown us that we can still have a future." A quiet cheer spread through the Xylarans, small but powerful. For the first time in decades, they felt something stronger than despair. They felt belonging, and yet deep inside, Rice knew the battle was only beginning. The galaxy would not forgive them. Shadows still lurked in the vastness of space, watching, waiting. But as he looked at the humans around him, at their fearless captain, he realized something vital. Courage and hope could shine brighter than fear. Together they could face whatever darkness the galaxy sent their way. As the convoy resumed its journey, leaving Solara 9 behind, the Xylarans looked to the star. Sun dared to dream. A future where they were free. A life where children could laugh without fear. A place where they belonged. For the first time, the exiles of the galaxy believed it might be possible. After weeks of travel through starfields and nebulae, the Zelaran fleet finally approached the human homeworld. From orbit, the planet looked alive. Blue oceans, green forests, and cities glowing with gentle light. It was unlike any world the Xylarans had ever seen. Here, life thrived openly, freely, without fear of sudden attacks or starvation. Elder Rice felt a strange mix of awe and disbelief. Could this be real? Could they finally find safety after centuries of exile? The humans guided the Xylarans down to the surface. Cities had been prepared for their arrival. Buildings large enough to house entire families. Laboratories equipped for their scientists. Schools ready for their children. It was overwhelming. The Xylarans, used to scarcity and survival, could hardly process such generosity. Children ran through gardens, laughing and chasing one another, their voices filling the air like music. For the first time in decades, Xylaran children played freely, without fear of storms or hunger. Parents watched them with tears in their eyes, some kneeling to pick up their little ones, hugging them close. Scientists and scholars wandered the new laboratories, touching equipment they had only dreamed of, whispering to one another in disbelief. Elder Rice walked through the streets with the human captain by his side. "You have given us a world," he said softly. "But I fear, the galaxy will not leave us in peace for long." The captain placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We know this will not be easy, but here you will find a chance to rebuild. We will protect you, and together we can face whatever comes." For weeks, the Xylarans adjusted to their new lives. They studied human technology, sharing their knowledge in return. Humanity learned from them, adopting innovations that would have taken decades to discover otherwise. Markets and schools buzzed with activity, blending human and Xylaran culture. Slowly, fear began to fade, replaced by hope and curiosity. Yet peace was fragile. Deep in the galaxy, word spread that the humans had taken in the Xylarans. Old enemies stirred. The Drakari Syndicate, humiliated by their previous failure, prepared new fleets. Other civilizations who had cast out the Xylarans whispered among themselves. This was an act of defiance, they said, an insult to the galaxy's order. One evening, the alarms blared across the human homeworld. Sensors detected a fleet moving at incredible speed. Warships emerging from the void like shadows come to life. The Xylarans watched, their hearts pounding as the skies filled with vessels designed to destroy. Panic rippled among the newcomers. Children clung to their parents, and scholars froze, unsure how to help. The captain addressed everyone, calm and steady. "This is why we train, why we prepare. Today, we show the galaxy that life is worth protecting. We will not let fear rule us. We will stand together." Elder Rice looked at the humans, at their ships forming defensive lines, at soldiers and pilots ready for battle, and he felt something he had not felt in centuries: courage. Yes, they were small, exiled, and once forgotten, but they were not powerless. Humanity had shown them how to fight for hope, how to protect life, and how to stand against cruelty. The battle began with blinding light and thunderous energy. Human and Xylaran technology worked together, creating shields and defenses that held against the first strikes. But the fleet was massive, and destruction threatened to rain down on the planet below. The Xylarans, terrified yet determined, joined the humans, offering their expertise to strengthen defenses, hack enemy systems, and guide ships through dangerous maneuvers. Hours stretched like days. Explosions lit the skies, and the roar of engines and weapons filled every sensor. Yet through it all, humanity never faltered. The Xylarans saw pilots dive fearlessly into danger. Scientists risk everything to stabilize power grids, and families cling together even as chaos surrounded them. By the time the sun rose over the horizon, the enemy fleet was retreating. Their ships, battered and broken, fled into the void. The humans and Xylarans had survived, not without loss but with victory. And in that victory, the Xylarans realized the true meaning of what they had been given. This was more than a home. This was a family. This was a bond that could not be broken by fear or hatred. For the first time, they believed that the galaxy could be different. Not perfect, not safe, but alive with hope. Elder Rice walked among his people as they began rebuilding after the battle. Children laughed, even in the shadow of destruction. Scientists and engineers worked side by side with humans, and as he looked to the horizon where the sun painted the clouds gold, He whispered to himself, "Perhaps we are not cast out forever. Perhaps at last we have found where we belong." And in that moment, a quiet truth settled in every heart. The galaxy may be cruel, but together, life could shine brighter than any darkness. Months passed on the human homeworld, and the Xylarans slowly began to rebuild their lives. Gardens flourished where fields had once been barren. Laboratories, silent for years, buzzed with ideas and inventions once more. Children laughed in playgrounds designed for both species, and markets were alive with new foods, new colors, and new friendships. Life felt possible again, and hope, fragile and precious, took root in every heart. Elder Rice walked through the city one morning, observing his people with a quiet pride. Scientists demonstrated new energy systems to human engineers. Young Xylaran children played chess and human sports together, their laughter echoing across the plazas. This is what we fought for, Rice thought, a chance to live, a chance to belong. Yet the galaxy never sleeps. Rumors of the Xylaran's survival spread quickly across neighboring systems. Some species whispered warnings to humanity. Do not shelter them. They are dangerous. You will regret this kindness. Others, like the Drakari syndicate, seethed with anger. Humiliation from the last failed attack had not faded. If anything, it had hardened their resolve. One day the human fleet detected movement on the edge of the system, a massive armada, unlike anything seen before. Ships swirled in formation, bristling with weapons and shields. The Galactic Council, which had ignored the Xylarans' pleas for decades, now demanded their surrender. They called the Xylarans exiles and threats to order. The Council's message was clear: comply or be destroyed. Fear gripped the Xylarans. For generations they had known only exile, betrayal, and cruelty. They had come to humanity seeking safety, not war. Yet now, even in this new world, they faced the galaxy's wrath. Elder Rice gathered his people. They want to take from us what we have fought to regain, he said. But we will not surrender. We will stand not as victims, but as those who believe life is worth protecting. The humans stood with them. Soldiers, engineers, and pilots prepared for the inevitable. Weapons were readied, shields strengthened, and plans for evacuation rehearsed. Humanity had never abandoned the Xylarans, and now they would not let the galaxy force them out. As the alien armada approached, tension hung thick in the air. Every eye in the city watched the sky. Every sensor monitored the void. The Xylarans felt the weight of centuries pressing upon them. This was their chance to prove that even those cast out by the galaxy could stand with courage and dignity. When the battle began, it was unlike anything the Xylarans had imagined. Ships tore through space with lightning speed. Lasers and missiles lit the darkness, a symphony of destruction. Yet the humans fought with skill and precision. The Xylarans joined in, offering guidance, technology, and tactics honed over decades of thinking and planning. Together, they formed a force that was more than machines. It was hope made real. During the fight, a group of young Xylaran engineers worked on the front lines, modifying human shields and weapons in real time. One young girl, barely 10 cycles old, whispered to her friend, "We are not just hiding anymore. We are fighting for our future." Her eyes shone with determination, and for the first time, hope did not feel fragile. It felt alive. Hours turned into days. The enemy was relentless, yet the combined human Xylaran forces held firm. The humans' courage inspired the Xylarans, and the Xylarans' knowledge empowered the humans. For the first time, the exiles felt they were not defined by what the galaxy had taken from them, but by what they could achieve together. Finally, the enemy fleet, battered and demoralized, began to retreat. Alarms echoed across human and Xylaran ships as the void emptied, leaving only the exhausted victors behind. The people on the planet's surface heard hugging one another, some crying tears of relief, others silent in awe. For the Xylarans, it was not just survival, it was a declaration. They had been cast out, abandoned, and scorned, but they had returned stronger than ever. Elder Rice looked to the horizon, where the sun painted the skies in shades of orange and gold. "We have fought," he whispered to himself. "We have survived, and now we will thrive." In the months that followed, the Xylarans and humans worked side by side to fortify the planet, to teach, to build, and to dream. Children grew up knowing laughter, not fear. Scientists dreamed of exploration, not exile. And for the first time in centuries, Elder Rice allowed himself to believe. Perhaps the galaxy had cast them out. But here, among friends who believed in them, They had found something far more powerful than exile. They had found home. The galaxy had grown restless. Word of the Xylarans' survival, their alliance with humanity and the defenses they had built spread like fire. Many civilizations, once indifferent or hostile, now watched closely, some with envy, others with fear. The Council's threats grew sharper. The Drakari Syndicate, still nursing the wounds of their last defeat, gathered a massive fleet, determined to annihilate the exiles and show the galaxy that mercy had no place in power. On the human homeworld, the Xylarans felt the weight of expectation and fear. For generations they had lived in the shadows, forced to hide their brilliance and creativity. Now they faced the galaxy's wrath head-on. Elder Rice walked through the city, watching his people prepare. Laboratories hummed with energy as engineers adapted weapons. Schools doubled as shelters. Children trained with guidance from human mentors, learning both discipline and courage. "This is more than survival," Rice said to the human captain. "This is our chance to show the galaxy that life, knowledge, and hope are not weaknesses." The captain nodded. "And we will stand with you. Together, we are stronger than any fleet they can muster." The warning came quickly. Thousands of ships moved through the void, dark specks swelling into a massive armada. The humans and Xylarans braced for the confrontation that could decide the fate of both their species. Ships lifted off, forming a protective barrier around the planet. Energy shields flickered to life. Lasers and cannons hummed, ready for the first strike. The air on the surface and aboard every vessel was thick with tension and fear, but also hope. The enemy arrived with ferocity. Explosions lit the skies as massive warships tore into the outskirts of the fleet. The humans fought with tactical precision, weaving between debris and enemy fire, while the Xylarans coordinated energy flow, reinforced shields, and deployed countermeasures that kept the attackers at bay. The battle was relentless, a storm of fire and light across the heavens. Rice watched a young Xylaran engineer on the bridge, working tirelessly to stabilize the planetary shields. "We cannot fail," the child whispered, hands flying over controls. "We cannot let them win." Rice felt a surge of pride and sorrow. These were his people, once broken, now fearless. Their courage reminded him why they had survived, why they had chosen to believe in hope rather than despair. In the thick of the battle, the Drakari flagship broke through a weak point in the human defenses. Its weapons aimed directly at the planet, threatening destruction on a scale the Xylarans had never seen. Panic rippled through the fleet. Elder Rice closed his eyes and remembered centuries of exile, planets lost, friends gone, and endless nights of fear. Then he opened them, seeing the humans standing firm, ready to sacrifice everything to protect the Xylarans. He gave the order. "We fight, not just to survive, but to live." Xylaran scientists activated a network of energy amplifiers, channeling power into the shield systems. Human pilots executed daring maneuvers, drawing fire away from the planet. The flagship's weapons struck the shields, sending ripples of energy across space. For a moment, it seemed the shields might fail. And then together, humans and Xylarans pushed back, channeling every ounce of strength, every piece of knowledge, every spark of hope. The Drakari flagship faltered, then exploded in a blinding flash. The enemy fleet faltered. Morale shattered. Ships that had threatened annihilation now fled in disarray. On the planet's surface, people cheered, embracing one another in relief and triumph. Elder Rice looked to the horizon and saw the stars burn a little brighter, as if acknowledging that something remarkable had happened. Life, cast out and forgotten, had survived and prevailed. In the aftermath, the Xylarans walked among the ruins of the battlefield, offering help to human soldiers and repairing systems together. Children ran through the streets, playing amidst debris, laughing even where fear had been moments before. Elder Rice spoke to his people, voice steady but filled with emotion. "The galaxy cast us out. They thought we were weak, that we had no place among the stars. But today we have shown them the truth. Strength is not only in weapons, but in hope, in courage, in choosing life when the universe seems ready to crush you." The humans stood beside them, sharing smiles and nods. "You are not alone," the captain said. "And together, we will continue to be a force the galaxy cannot ignore." For the first time in generations, the Xylarans felt more than survival. They felt belonging. They felt dignity. They felt proud to be alive, proud of what they had become. Exiles no longer. They had found a home among those who believed in them. And the galaxy, vast and indifferent as it had once seemed, would now have to remember that life, hope, and courage could not be cast aside. Elder Rice looked up at the sky, where the last of the enemy fleet had vanished into the void. "We were cast out," he whispered, "but we have returned stronger than ever, and now we will rise." The battle had ended, but its echoes remained in every corner of the human homeworld. Smoke drifted from damaged buildings. Scorch marks lined the streets, and the hum of energy shields still lingered in the air. Yet despite the destruction, life pulsed stronger than ever. Humanity and Xylarans worked side by side, repairing, rebuilding, and learning from one another. Elder Rice walked through the city, seeing children of both species playing together in the streets, laughter filling the air. Markets reopened, now filled with foods and goods from both worlds. Engineers and scientists moved quickly between laboratories and construction sites, sharing knowledge and adapting technologies. The Xylarans, once cast out and hopeless, now felt purpose again. Not just to survive, but to thrive. "This is what we dreamed of," Rice said to the human captain as they observed the bustling city from a high terrace. "A place where our people can live freely, where our children can grow without fear." The captain nodded. "And we will protect it. Together we've shown the galaxy that life, courage, and hope cannot be destroyed." Despite the peace, a quiet unease lingered. Reports from distant sectors indicated that some galactic civilizations still whispered threats. But the Xylarans no longer felt powerless. They had fought and survived, and they were no longer alone. Humanity had shown them that compassion and courage could change the course of the galaxy, and that knowledge combined with heart could overcome fear. In the weeks that followed, the Xylarans began to integrate into human society. Children attended schools where they learned both human history and their own ancestral knowledge. Scholars exchanged ideas with human researchers, developing new technologies for energy, medicine, and exploration. Musicians and artists from both worlds shared performances that blended cultures, creating beauty that was neither human nor Xylaran, but something entirely new. Elder Rice visited one such performance, listening to the music and watching the children dance. For decades, he had feared that his people would never again experience joy. Now he saw them laugh, sing, and play, their spirits unbroken. Perhaps, he thought quietly, the galaxy did not end our story. Perhaps it simply delayed it until we found our true home. Even in the night, the city seemed alive. Lights sparkled across the skyline, reflecting in the oceans below. The stars above twinkled in silence, indifferent yet beautiful, a reminder of the vast universe that had once cast them aside. But now the Xylarans no longer feared the void. They had allies, friends, and a home. They had found courage not only in themselves but in the humans who had chosen to welcome them without condition. One evening, Reese gathered his people in the central plaza. Children ran through the fountains, their laughter echoing against the tall buildings. Adults stood quietly, listening as he spoke, his voice carrying hope and strength. "The galaxy once turned its back on us," he said. "It sought to erase our names, our ideas, our lives. But here we have proved that we are more than exiles. We are survivors, thinkers, creators, and now we are part of something greater. Humanity showed us what it means to protect life, to stand for hope, and to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. And together, we will continue to rise." A cheer rose from the crowd, loud and joyous, a sound that carried across the city and into the stars beyond. The Xylarans realized something profound. They had not just found a home, they had found a family. And family, they understood, was stronger than fear, stronger than exile, stronger than the galaxy itself. The humans joined them in the celebration, sharing stories, food, and laughter. For the first time, species that had been strangers, once separated by fear and distance, now stood together as equals. The bonds formed in the fire of battle and the quiet moments of rebuilding were unbreakable. Elder Rice looked up at the stars that evening, reflecting on how far they had come. "We were cast out," he whispered to the wind, "but the galaxy did not destroy us. We were welcomed. We were given hope, and now nothing can take that away." As the night deepened, the city glowed with light, warmth, and life. The Xylarans slept peacefully, knowing that tomorrow would bring not just survival, but progress. They would grow, learn, and create. The humans had shown them that compassion could change destiny. And now the Xylarans carried that lesson into every part of their lives. For the first time in centuries, Elder Rice allowed himself to smile without fear. They had been cast out, rejected, and left to drift in the cold darkness. But now, together with humanity, they had built something stronger than exile, stronger than fear, stronger than any darkness in the galaxy. They had built a home. And in that home, the Xylarans discovered the most powerful truth of all, that even in a vast, indifferent universe, life, courageous, compassionate, and united, could shine brighter than any star. The Xylarans had finally found a home, but the galaxy around them remained vast and unpredictable. Word of their survival and alliance with humanity had spread, carrying tales of courage, hope, and resilience. Some civilizations still eyed them with suspicion, but others paused, curious, and perhaps even inspired. What they had witnessed challenged the rules of the galaxy. Exiles cast out for generations had been welcomed and defended, and they had risen. Elder Rice stood on the balcony of the main hall overlooking the city below. Lights from human and Xylaran homes shimmered like stars on the ground. Children ran freely, laughing as they chased each other through parks and gardens. Scientists worked late into the night, discovering, creating, and dreaming. Markets bustled with life, their energy a testament to the strength of two species united. Rice took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past decades and the hope of the present. For centuries, the Xylarans had known fear, exile, and despair. They had been cast out by the galaxy, abandoned when they needed help most. And yet here they stood, not as victims but as survivors, as creators, as equals. They had been welcomed. They had been given a second chance. The human captain approached, placing a hand on Rice's shoulder. "You have done more than survive," she said. "You have shown the galaxy something it has forgotten, that life, courage, and hope are stronger than fear, hatred, or power. They may not all understand it yet, but they will remember." Rice nodded. "For generations we have been shadows. Now we are light, and not just for ourselves. For everyone who has been cast out, everyone who has been forgotten, we have shown that they can still have a place, that they can still be welcomed." A celebration began that evening. Humans and Xylarans gathered in the central plaza. Music filled the air, a mixture of songs from both worlds. Children danced, their laughter rising above the city. Adults held hands, sharing stories of survival, courage, and hope. For a moment, the galaxy felt small, its vastness shrinking under the power of community and belonging. Rice looked around at his people, seeing their faces, some smiling, some tearful, all alive. He thought of the worlds they had lost, the friends and families who had vanished, the countless years of fear. And yet he realized that all of it had led them here, to this moment of unity. They had been cast out, yes, but they had found something greater than exile. They had found belonging. The next day, as ships prepared to depart for exploration and trade, signals came from neighboring star systems. Some offered tentative greetings, others sought alliances. Slowly, the galaxy began to take notice. Humanity and the Xylarans were no longer a hidden force. They were a beacon, a reminder that even in a universe of cruelty and indifference, life that stands together, that protects and uplifts, cannot be ignored. Rice and the captain watched the fleets take off, ships gleaming under the twin suns. "We have a long journey ahead," the captain said. "The galaxy may still challenge us, but we will face it together." Rice smiled, a quiet but powerful smile. "We have already faced the worst. We have survived exile, hunger, war, and fear. Now we know the truth. Home is not just a place. Home is where life is protected, where hope is nurtured, and where you are welcomed without question." In the weeks that followed, the Xylarans continued to thrive. Their scientists contributed to medical breakthroughs. Their engineers built new technologies. And their children grew up knowing laughter and love, not fear and abandonment. Humanity and Xylarans worked side by side, proving that unity and courage could change the destiny of entire civilizations. One quiet evening, Rice walked to the highest peak overlooking the city. The stars stretched endlessly above, familiar yet once distant and indifferent. He whispered to them, a vow for the future. "We were cast out by the galaxy, but no longer. We are here, we are alive, and we are welcomed, and we will ensure that life, courage, and hope always have a place among the stars." The Xylarans had been exiled, abandoned, and forgotten. But in the warmth of human kindness, in the courage to stand together, and in the resilience of life itself, they had found more than safety. They had found purpose, dignity, and belonging. The galaxy would never forget them again, and for the first time, the Xylarans believed it. Being welcomed was not weakness. It was the greatest strength of all.